Welcome to the Women Faith Plus Business Podcast. I'm your host, Nadine Mullings. I'm an author, speaker, and marketing mentor, and I believe in the importance of women of faith in business stepping up and shining in their lane so they can have the impact, income, and influence they were born to make. Join me this season to hear the stories of powerful women of faith who have authored a collaborative, purpose-driven book to make a difference in the world. And be sure to join the Women Faith Plus business community on Facebook by going to nadinemullings.com/community. See you in the powerful community of women of faith in business, and enjoy this episode of the Women Faith Plus Business Podcast. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Women Faith Plus Business Podcast. I'm super excited to have these amazing ladies that we have in the room and to talk about this awesome book, Live Your Optimal Life. So I have the co-authors of Live Your Optimal Life and the lead visionary author. So we're going to have an amazing discussion around the book and each and every author that's in the room today. And I'd love to start off with the visionary author, Dr. Davia, who I've known for several years. She is an amazing person, a super sweet person. And I say that with the most sincerest heart, that she is like one of the sweetest people I know, to be very honest. And I've known her for many years. And at the heart of the matter for her is collaboration. Her joy, her desire, her passion is to really help women in business succeed. And one of the key ways that she does that is through collaboration. And that's why it's no surprise that she does these collaboration books and collaboration projects and anthologies. So I'm super excited to welcome Dr. Davia Shepherd to the podcast today, and the amazing co-authors, Gail, Annette, Noely, and Mary Ann Pack. So I'm going to start off by reading the official bio of Dr. Davia, the visionary author. Dr. Davia Shepherd wears a lot of hats. She is a mom, sister, daughter, and a wife. She is an author and a professional speaker. Dr. Davia Shepherd hosts and coordinates a women's collaboration group called Ladies Power Lunch, also known as LPL. She also helps her patients feel better every single day. But the one thing that she's most passionate about, the one thing that gets her out of bed in the mornings and into the office on Monday, which we're recording on a Monday, so they got her out of the bed and in the office today, is the opportunity to support women in business to live their optimal lives, to grow their visibility, reach, impact, and their income. She is a beacon for beacons. Davia is the CHO, Chief Happiness Officer of Ladies Power Lunch. LPL is a free movement for women in business who want to intentionally support each other. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Davia.
So much, Nadine. That was the best introduction. Thank you.
You are so welcome. It's your official bio. So it definitely highlights you and who you are as a person. And I cannot forget the amazing co-authors that are on the panel today. We have Gail, Annette, Noly, and Mary Ann. And I'd love for you guys to officially introduce yourself to the audience and tell us about the work that you do in the world. So we will start with Gail. Gail, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you so much for having us, Nadine. I'm a life coach. I'm a retreat leader. I'm an author, and I'm a professional, motivational, inspirational speaker. I'm a mom of two beautiful daughters, if I may say so myself, and I have 3 grandchildren. And that's who I am. I mean, I started off as a teacher, and I'm still teaching in a way.
Awesome. I love it. Welcome to the podcast, Gail. And next we have Mary Ann.
Thank you, Nadine, for inviting us. I appreciate you so much. I am Mary Ann Pack. I am a spiritual medium, an author, a publisher, and a joyologist. So my mission is to bring more love and joy into the world. So I'm spreading that everywhere I can find to sprinkle it. I'm in Texas and I live on a farm that is a wildlife management area that where we raised our boys, and now I have a blended family with 4 additional children and their families. So it's growing exponentially and grandbabies are hitting the ground fast and I love it.
That is awesome. Grandbabies are definitely a gift, and it's so important to spread
Mhm.
the joy. So I love that that is what you're doing. Next up, we have Annette. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks for having us. It's so exciting to be with these wonderful authors. I'm Annette. I'm an intuitive design coach and an author. I do drafting, design, real estate. I've started multiple businesses and lots of healing modalities. And what I figured out was when we have more of what makes us smile in our environment, in our homes, in our designs, not only for our surroundings, but for our life, everything lights up brighter. So if you're one of those people that are embarrassed about people coming over or you blur your backgrounds, get in touch with me and I'm going to help you out. I want you to express you in your life and your home.
I love that. So important to pay attention to the things that make you smile. And we love your background. Before we hit the record button, we were talking about how amazing her background was. I thought it was a virtual background. So for those of you that are watching the podcast on video version, you get to see Annette's work and her amazing background with the design work that she does in the world. So welcome to the podcast, Annette. And Noelle.
Yes, good morning. And Annette, I only have my background blurred because I'm in the office. And I have tons of files behind me, but I do love my backgrounds when I am home. So, and it does makes me happy. So I have to, agree with you. When you have a happy, beautiful surroundings, just makes your life better. My name is Noely Sanchez Velez, and I am a business owner with my husband. We own a photography business, and we're actually venturing to something new to be announced soon. So I'm excited to do this new venture with my husband. But for the last 23 years, I work in a nonprofit. We help individuals that have been impacted by the criminal justice system, and I am a project manager here at the office and also work with IT. And so I wear multiple hats from the times that I've been here, 23 years ago till today. It keeps my days interesting when I come in the office and I have different projects and different things that I'm working within my office and also at the programs that we service. But, in the photography business, just, we're talking about joy and bringing happiness, is something that we love to do together because we're capturing moments when we're taking pictures of individuals, we're taking pictures of families, events. And so I truly enjoy, being out there with the public. I have a background also in event coordination. And so I, kind of manage events, manage different things. And so I'm excited to be able to collaborate with this beautiful woman that, do so much. And it's kind of part of, what I do. Just kind of my hands are everywhere. I wear multiple hats. And so it's really exciting. And thank you for having us.
You are so welcome. Welcome to the podcast, Noelle. And definitely, we can all relate to as women. We wear multiple hats and juggle many things. So we could definitely relate to having your hands in so many different things. So we are here today to talk about the amazing book, Live Your Optimal Life. And I'm going to start off by asking Davia a little bit about the book because in the introduction, you share how LPL was formed from women supporting each other. When women are willing to share their gifts and talents, everyone wins and grows. And the anthology allows the women in LPL to share their stories. And it also allows the reader to integrate the lessons learned from each chapter. So tell us a little bit, Dr. Davia, what was your vision behind this particular book of Live Your Optimal Life? Because I know you have a series, so we can probably even back up the question and talk about how it all started, how you got into this series of books, and then we can jump into Live Your Optimal Life. So tell us a little bit about the vision behind it.
So a lot of the times people ask me, Nadine, how did you found Ladies Power Lunch? And I love to say I didn't. Ladies Power Lunch found me. I started out in private practice, and I started at a time when things were difficult in the national economy financially. And so it was suggested that I start networking. I met amazing women. We got together one day and had lunch. 6 women in a Ruby Tuesday on Route 6 in Bristol, Connecticut got together, and we supported each other over that like hour and a half that we were together in so many ways, in business and life, with issues that might be showing up. I just feel that when women come together, we can solve all the problems of the world. Like we know all the answers when we come together. If Gail's going through something, there's somebody in this group who can help. If Marianne's going through something, somebody can help. Annette, Nadine, and we are so willing to help without outside influences showing us a different way. We're so willing to support each other. And so I have this idea that if I have an issue or there's something going on in my life or in my business, that there's somebody else who's already been through that, been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt, like we like to say. And somebody in our group may have been there, and she is so willing and so open and so ready to reach out and help me. And then there's somebody out there who's going through something that I've been through, and I'm willing to help her. And if we're all doing this, then don't you just see how the world is already a better place when women everywhere are supporting each other? And there's more, because one of our members likes to say, money loves women. And the reason she says this is because she knows that when women have money, the entire community benefits. So it's all these things that have been in my mind that led to starting Ladies Power Lunch, and also led to having our monthly meetings, having our annual summits, and eventually giving women the voice to share in these best-selling anthologies and individual works that we've been able to publish over the years.
I love that. So good, so good. And I truly believe in that ripple effect too, that is at the heart of the work that I do, knowing that when a woman is successful in life and in business, it is a ripple effect in her family, her community, the world at large is a better place when the woman is successful. And I love that you highlight the importance of supporting each other. Because sometimes like you think of things like reality TV and those places where it's always women against each other and fighting and arguing, and those pictures of women not getting along. But to really highlight and spotlight communities where that's the whole goal, is to get along, to support each other, to encourage each other, is so important to have those visuals out there too. So I love that that is what Ladies Power Lunch does, and everything that's attached to it, whether it's the summits, the books, and all the different, and the conferences, the retreats, all the things that is attached to Ladies Power Lunch. So I love that. So let's talk a little bit more about Live Your Optimal Life, which is the latest collaboration book through Ladies Power Lunch, and the theme of Live Your Optimal Life. So why, or what was the motivation or inspiration for Live Your Optimal Life? We talked about in your bio, Dr. Davia, that you want everyone to live your optimal life. So why was the decision made that, okay, our next book is going to be all about living your optimal life?
All the things that I do in life have that theme. That's the theme that's running through everything I do. For example, if I'm treating with patients, I'm trying to help them with the things that are holding them behind on living their optimal life as far as their health goes. One of the things that I know is that a lot of women, especially women in business, I would say, we have so many things going on. It could be, our health, our business, our families, our finances, And if, let's say we have 5 things going on, and one of them is not going so well, it brings the whole thing down. The whole life becomes less than optimal. And we're not waking up with that beauty and brilliance that we are actually divinely given to live every single day. And so, what would happen if each and every one of us was able to focus in on the area that's going well, focus on the things that are amazing, as we, of course, work on the things that are not the best, but really focus in on the things that are amazing. It sort of flips everything on its head, and suddenly our lives are more beautiful, our lives are more brilliant. We're really, really feeling that joy that Marianne talks about. We're really, really feeling like we're living the life that we were meant to live. And so that's the purpose of this book, because, the authors, what I love about the authors who raised their hands and said, yes, I want to be part of this, is it's not like they're shooting sunshine and rainbows out of their eyes every single day, right? It's not all hearts and butterflies, but what is they share their journey through the things that are sticky, and how, in spite of all that, they can still have a brilliant and beautiful life.
So true and so well said, which actually leads us to the co-authors. I'm going to get into what they talked about in the book and their particular stories. But one quick question before I get to the co-authors as to the format of the book, because I did want to point out that it is divided into 5 sections. So the 5 sections of the book are discovery, courage, embodied, purpose, and growth. And at the end of each one of the stories in those sections is all about integration. So it's not just about hearing the story of the women, but they also offer up ways to integrate the lessons from their stories into your life. So I really did want to highlight, how the book is laid out as far as those different sections and divisions of the book, and some of the key things that make this book different is like I said, it's not just reading the stories, but it's also integrating the lessons and some applicable ways that you can integrate those lessons into your life. So let's talk to the co-authors. You had a total of how many co-authors in the book? I know right now on the panel we're highlighting and spotlighting 4 co-authors, but how many total co-authors were in Live Your Optimal Life, Divya?
So we have 18 best-selling co-authors. I want to
Awesome.
point out that Marianne Pack was one of our editors also, and she did an amazing job of helping us, because we all have a story. Everybody has a story. And one of my favorite friends who writes, she is a Harvard trained writing coach. She says that, how dare you not share your story? Because
Mm.
there's somebody out there who needs that work, who needs to hear from you. But not all of us are Harvard trained authors, right? And so we need somebody like Marianne who is really, really good at helping us to make our stories shine. And I just wanted to give credit where credit is due. Marianne, you really were so helpful to all of us. Thank you.
That is awesome, Marianne. And your skill set in being able to apply that to this project to help edit the book is always awesome, needed, and necessary. I always find that with collaboration book, one of the key things that's most important is the editing, right? Everyone has amazing stories, but if it wasn't edited, that those stories can come across with typos and misspellings and all that good stuff. So we definitely appreciate you, Marianne. So to the co-authors, when Davia talked about this project, what made you raise your hand and say, yes, I want to be a part of this particular book project? What was that deciding factor of, I want to join this book project and be a part of this book project? Who wants to share their why? Okay, Annette, and then Noely.
For me, a lot of it has to do with Dr. Davia, because she is so loving. And the other part of it is I had not shared my story, and people were like, you need to share your story. There are people out there that need to remember in the worst of times, we as women have strength that we forget. We've all heard the story of the mom picking up a car to save their, right? A car tumbles on their child and they pick it up. And when you've lived it, sometimes you're like, well, everybody does this. And they're like, when people are in the middle of the storm, they have to remember that there's a calm at the end. They're not going to be here forever. And so it was just a wonderful collaboration between Dr. Divya and Elizabeth and Marianne to have the support to be able to tell your story. And they're like 5 pages, and to give ways people can then take what they learn and use it in their own life. Like for me, that was a big piece of it. Like, I don't want to just tell my story. I want to give some ways that people can implement and shift their lives. I want every woman to feel empowered, loved, and know that they can do it and they have everything they need right inside them. And we always forget because all the world's saying, look out here, go buy this, do this. And we forget. And so when we tell these stories and we love on each other, there's a power that no one else can give us but another woman.
Exactly. I love that, Annette. The power in sharing your story and the opportunity to share your story was one of the main reasons of joining this book project. That's awesome. And Noelle?
Yeah, so I had the honor of participating in another anthology with Dr. Davia. And so when this came up, I was like, wow, this is another chance for me to tell another part of my story. And so I was really excited because I work with Dr. Davia and a lot of the women in the group. And so I feel very comfortable to be able to be part of this. It's very empowering, as we've mentioned, to be surrounded with business mind-light women. And so I just felt, this was another chance for me to talk about my story and empower women along the way. We talk about trauma, we talk about, suffering, we talk about joy, we talk about, all these different things that connect us all some way or another, but our stories are always going to be unique. And so when someone reads our stories, they could relate probably to all of them because there's pieces of each of our stories that connect us and someone feels, oh, I understand exactly what this person been through. And if they haven't been through it exactly like we have, they could get something out of it. And I also love, as Annette mentioned, those questions at the end to kind of keep the reader thinking, what else can I do if I've gone through something like this that I could assimilate with? There's a way out, right? I always, tell the kids, whenever something bad is happening, it's like, this is just temporary. It's not permanent. This is a temporary space that we have to experience. And then it goes away and then we are fine, right? And so this book and the chapter that I was part of gave us that opportunity to be able to express how we feel and also give hope to those that are reading our chapters and see how they could then move on in their own lives.
Yeah, I love that. So important. And it's so important to share different parts of your story. I love that you brought up that you were in an anthology before with Dr. Davia and you were able to share one part of your story. But our stories are so multifaceted. There's so many aspects of it. So being on more than one anthology gives you an opportunity to share a different part of your story, another lesson that you learned and how that can impact other people. And definitely that integration part is so key in this book. Marianne, what made you say yes to being a part of this project?
It's always Dr. Divya first. Just being in her presence and the project she creates, and then being with all these lovely collaborative co-authors, and because if you've never gotten to be in an anthology, please seek one out, because the learning process, the camaraderie, the belonging, the community that it creates is so helpful and so healing, that, like Noelle said, telling different parts of your story. I've had my own collaborative projects, and it's amazing how the authors come back and say, I didn't expect to say that. But Source, their God spark, spurred them on to tell a different part of their story because it was important for that particular project. So I love being in this. Even all my books, if they're not journal type books, they all have integrative exercises. And I just love that they're all included in this anthology also, because we don't need more knowledge. We need the wisdom that comes from applying that knowledge.
Yeah.
So,
True.
yeah,
Yeah, so true. That application part is where the
yes,
wisdom is. I love that.
absolutely.
Gail, what about you? What made you say yes to this project?
Well, definitely meeting Dr. Davia. Definitely. That was a highlight at the first summit that I was at. And I always knew that everyone has a book inside of them, that we have so much that we can share in our lives. And I always came from the perspective of being an open vessel and leading with my heart and my mind. And I learned how to balance that. And through the teaching and work that I've done for all these years, making a difference in other people's lives has always been there for me since I was a kid. So I knew I was going to write about that, only my life shifted. So after I had made the commitment to write in Live Your Optimal Life, I remember thinking, and I said to, Elizabeth, I don't think I can do this. And she said, why? I said, because the title is Live Your Optimal Life. And I said, I'm not living my optimal life because I had just lost the love of my life. And we had been together, 52 years. So, I was in the throes of trauma and drama and looking for God to show me the way. I can't believe I just said that, because the truth is, 3 weeks after I said, I don't think I can do this, I called Elizabeth back and I said, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it because I think it's important for me, number one, also take care of yourself, to do some deep work and be able to do some healing, as hard as it was for me to write the chapter that I wrote about. Facing loss, embracing courage. I knew I needed to do it. And I also knew that perhaps and hopefully I would be open a door for someone else going through something like this, so that they could know that grieving and the process, yes, is a journey. It's not over, but you can learn how to live as optimally as you choose to. With the support and the collaboration, another big word, of like-minded women that have compassion and heart. And there's something very, very healing in writing, journaling, and being able to get past stuck.
So good, Gail. So good. It is so true that writing is also a part of the healing process. And
Yeah.
it's almost like God divinely put the project in your lap during this time to help you go through the healing process, right? So you were divinely led to be a part of the project during a time that was very difficult in your life. And this project also offered an opportunity for healing through being able to write about your story and share your story to help other people that could be going through the same grieving process. So I love that. That was one of the reasons why you said yes, even though you thought you were going to say no to the project and move forward with Live Your Optimal Life. So let's get a little bit into each one of you guys' stories and what exactly you wrote about in the book. I'm going to start off with Annette and her A Design Discovery. So Annette's section was A Design Discovery. And I love that you start your section by saying, I felt sure I would be happy when you made your goal weight, your vision board became a reality, you had automated systems. I think that we can all relate to we'll be happy when. Fill in the blank as to what that when is for you. I felt like that was such a powerful way to start your section, because I feel like we can all relate to that. But you then go on in your section to talk about a health crisis that occurred with your life partner that caused you to have to move from chasing your dreams to actually just staying alive and being in the moment. So share a little bit about that story that you shared in the book with the audience.
So for me, we owned 5 companies between the two of us. Hustle was my name. How much can I do and how fast can I do it? I was 43 years old at the time with 2 boys, 15 and 12. And I was like, I got this. And then as soon as I get this, I'll be okay. Like, I don't know if you've ever done that. You're like, okay, I know if I just make it through this week, next week is going to be so much better. And then the next thing you know, your life partner has cancer and they're like, you have to go 3 states away, 750 miles. He has a 10% chance of living and you got 3 days to do this. You're like, all righty then. When is now? Right? Like, and then you walk into MD Anderson with all of these people fighting for their lives. And yes, they're thin. Yes, all the things you thought you wanted, and all they want is to be alive for one more day. And you go, what in the world was I doing? Where was I? Right? And all of a sudden you change. He looked at me and he said, okay, our definition of success changed. And I was like, what? He's like, yep. How much fun are we having? I'm like, we are in a hospital with dying people. What is wrong with you, you crazy man? And he's like, how much fun can we have? And all of a sudden we started having fun with tubes coming out of him everywhere. And he's like, we just have to have fun right now. It wasn't, as I went through the journey with him of cancer, it was never looking at our how much money we had in the bank. Hell, we didn't know what the hell was going on. We were just trying to juggle. It was like, I want to connect. I want to love. I want to, and I was like, it all the things I thought mattered didn't matter. Right? It didn't matter. And all we had was in us. We didn't have time to read a book. We didn't have time to learn one more thing. We were in this moment right now. And guess what? God, source, whatever you believe in, gave us whatever we needed in those moments. We had near-death experiences, all that. I didn't really write about that in my chapter, but that was a part of the journey. And what I really understood at that moment is our breath is life. So if you're not breathing right this minute, take a breath. Exhale everything outside this moment. Who you are, what you are, where you are is exactly where you're meant to be, and you are perfect right now, right here. And I somehow wanted to remember that in every moment and bring that. And then how do you reintegrate and live that, right? It's a constant remembering. So that's really what I wrote about. Design and how our homes reflect, or our offices. They tell us everything. They're love letters. So when you have that little pile hanging out, it's a love letter, what you're waiting. Would you like to play with it? And just how much fun can you have? So that's really what I took. He won his first battle with cancer and lost his second. So I got to go through grief, which was as unique as a fingerprint and the most horrific. There's no way to prepare yourself for that. And there's a new depth you get to. And that just how much self-trust we have. And that's what Dr. Divya and Live Your Optimum Life and all these women are like, you have everything you need. And how can we love? And how can we use the things you have to help you have some clues, right? Like if we can just do it with more fun and do it faster, how good would that be? So that's really what I figured out, is how I try to help people cue into themselves. So when am I out of alignment? How fast can I see it? And what are some ways that I can come back in? So I talk about juicers and zappers. So what juices your energy? What is one thing today that just you always light up? My dog sleeping on the couch, he always makes me light up. That's a juicer, right? A zapper is what I'm covering up, a big pile of things that need to be taken care of. Okay, so how can we have more juicers and less zappers? Like, how can we make this so easy? So those are some of the things that I share and talk about with people.
Yeah, so good, so good. Juicers and zappers. I'm gonna have to remember that and to know that, sometimes it's the crises, the things that happen in life that send us in a crisis that put things in perspective for us. Definitely sorry for your loss. That's never easy to lose someone that you love and to go through the grieving process. But thank you for your strength in sharing that, both you and Gail, in sharing that part of your story with others in order to help them. And I love the quote that you said in your section, Annette. I discovered freedom in coming undone. I just thought that was so powerful. It stood out for me. I discovered freedom in coming undone. And I love that you shared that a few of the nurses shared some of the greatest regrets that they heard from their patients was lacking the courage to live a life true to their heart's desire and wishing they had more time to connect, play, and love those in their life. I thought that was such a powerful message because it was from nurses who were working with people that, were at the end of their lives a lot of times. So that's definitely a good, powerful message for us to take away from your section. So thank you so much, Annette. So let's move on to Mary Ann Pack, and your section was optimizing your joy. And you start off your section with the statement, no, we don't do that. And it's such a powerful statement because it reflects with what many of us have experienced in our lives, in our families, in our community, in our countries, in our culture, that this is not what we do. Whatever that we is for you is such a powerful statement because it frames your life and how you view things through that statement. No, that's not what we do, and how that impacted it. You also mentioned you had moments of joy and happiness, but they were fleeting because you felt like you could never measure up. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about what you wrote about in optimizing your joy.
Well, I'd be happy to. Thank you. Yeah, that statement, no, we don't do this, was kind of what I heard throughout childhood, because all families and our society and, our teachers, whoever's in authority kind of, think they know better. So they have to train us. And so you can do this, you can't do this. So I heard no a lot growing up. Because joy wasn't a priority. It was servitude. It was sacrifice. It was, and if you didn't do it right, you were guilted and shamed into conformity. And that just created so much emotional turmoil in me. And I didn't realize that these emotions, that my body was listening all along and was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Till finally I crashed at 34. We had just been transferred to Texas from St. Louis. And, I'm all alone, raising 2 babies, fixing to start homeschooling. And I just crashed. The drugs and the migraines and the illnesses, the diseases that I had created, that I didn't know I had created, I just crashed, and I had to go get some natural help, and started that actually allowed me to start studying other things that had always been taboo in my family. And so, it began to allow me to even evaluate my beliefs. And so I started asking God to send me mentors and people who understood, because I just knew my spiritual walk should feel really good, and it wasn't. So something had to give. And that answer came. And so I learned that, oh my gosh, I'm joy embodied, because I'm a God spark. I'm my soul, my inner being. I call it my inner being is always calling me to be more godlike, source-like, however you call your higher power. And when I found that out, that it was really that was not only who I was, but it was my purpose, it shifted everything, because then I could look at things not as conditional. It's like Annette said, this is temporary. This isn't going to last forever. All of us understand that. We've all talked about it, that these conditions are just temporary. And instead of looking at the conditions, I started looking at who I was. And then, even through the conditions, my joy was able to shine through, even if it was just a little crack and letting in just a little glimmer. It was still there. It didn't, so then my joy became much more consistent in my life, my love. And so that's why I I used to call myself a joy advocate, and I was in a little spiritual group, and one of the members said, "Oh no, you're a joyologist." And I went, "That's it." We'll just start using the word joyologist instead. So yeah, I mean, to me, living my optimal life is having that foundation of knowing I am pure positive energy that translates into the human emotion of joy. That's who I am. And so it's knowing that foundation. It's recognizing that how we feel, because our emotions simply tell on our thoughts.
Mm.
And so they can be trusted. If you're, just notice how you're feeling. If you're feeling good, boom, you're on track. Because our inner being is always calling us to feel good. And then for me, the last thing is getting into that state of appreciation. Because for me, appreciation is best friends with love and joy and abundance and all the things we desire, all those wonderful, beautiful things that are divinely inspired through us to want and to create in this beautiful world. So I love that they're friends. And if we didn't know anything else, but all we knew was how to appreciate, to be that appreciation, that state of being, it's not just an attribute, it's a state of being. It's not just something we do. Oh, we appreciate that. No, it's who we are. And so, knowing that our appreciation actually is best friends with love and joy and abundance and well-being. And that's our birthright, and that's who we are. So that to me is living our optimal life. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. So important, Mary Ann. Embodying joy. You are joy, right? And to
Yes.
realize that and to show appreciation, because as she says, they're best friends or even cousins, right? Cousins to joy and abundance and all that good stuff in life is appreciation. So I love that. And I love in your section, Mary Ann, you talked about if we are living in love, joy, and appreciation, we are living the optimal lives that we intended when we came into the physical realm. So you kind of summed that up in what you shared. And that was the quote from your section that really stood out for me. So thank you, Mary Ann. Now let's move on to Gail. Gail, you wrote about facing loss and embracing courage. You kind of talked about it a little bit, but your section starts off with the realization that your longtime husband, as you mentioned, of 52 years, is no longer with you, and how you had to process the unexpected passing of your husband. And you shared during your season of grief, you did something you really do, which is you rarely do, I should say, which is allowed yourself to be cared for. So tell us a little bit about that and what you were going through.
And thank you for this, Nadine. And Annette, your words, by the way, in your chapter have stayed with me in my heart, made a difference for me. I wanted you to know that. For me, it was, I always came from the place of people always looked at me as a leader and leading and supporting other people in finding who they are and being able to own their own self-compassion, self-appreciation, and having better relationships with themselves and others. So when Joe, in the book I talked about, Joe looked over at me when I took him from the hospital. There are all these little blessings that I've been left with that have supported me. And he said, Gail, you're very strong emotionally and physically. And I thought, while I'm crying, I thought to myself, wow, I mean, did Joe have a premonition? I mean, what is going on? But in the throes of trauma and loss, I had to rediscover who I am. Even though others knew who I was, I lost that for a while. And so I had to be able to do what I did with other people for over 30 years, look in the mirror and not only let others in a very vulnerable way to say, I need support right now. But not only did I let them in, but I had to learn how to, from my heart, have the courage to ask for support. That was very hard for me. That was a huge, huge lesson. And then, of course, there's no accidents that Dr. Davia came into my life, because the word collaboration is, is adjacent to her name. So I started to collaborate a lot more than I ever did. I was the eagle out there doing what I needed to do in life and making a difference in so many lives. But I didn't realize, I didn't take the time, as Annette said, I can identify. You need to reach out to others. You can't wait for them to come to you, because there are times when you are in such a place that you really, it's okay to ask others for support. It doesn't mean that you're not strong. Actually, it's the reverse. It means you are tremendously strong and independent and loving, and realizing that you need that love at that moment in time. So sometimes, when we're in that place, there were moments and there were days and weeks where I went down under. And that wasn't good. It didn't serve me. It was okay to be able to experience the grief. Yes, I needed to experience the grief. I think the other lesson, I hope this is not convoluted, but I think the other lesson is allow yourselves to feel what you need to feel when you need to feel it. Because if you don't, and you mask it and you make it like it's okay, it's not going to be okay. Because the only way to get rid of something, or not get rid of something, but to be able to release something, that is to be able to sit in those feelings, and then give yourself a time frame to say, okay, you know what? That was enough right now. I know the wave is going to come again, but now it's important for me to learn how to reach out and live my life and redesign and redefine and redesign who I am and how I choose to be. So, when someone said to me, well, are you living as optimally as you can? I looked and I said, you know what? I am. I find joy in being with other people. I find joy in my grandkids' belly laughs. And that's okay. I don't have to feel guilty. It's okay if I can't listen to love songs at a certain period of time. That's okay. I had to say it's okay a lot to myself so that I could get through. But I think the big lesson is, for me, and hopefully for other people listening, is that, not only whatever your belief is, whether it's God, source, whatever it is, there is a spiritual connection and a heartfelt connection that is so important to own, to acknowledge, and to live with. So I never felt, there were times I felt alone and lonely, but I always knew that presence was there. I always knew I could lean on that source feeling, that spirit. So I think for me, it was the lesson of reaching out, of learning who I was, my circle, and expand the circle with collaboration. Because you know what? We're all healers. Women especially are all healers. I really do believe that. And when I'm with other women and they're open and they're heartfelt and there's no attitude or judgment, it is a blessing. It is an absolute blessing. And I am thrilled to be able to say I'm experiencing this, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So many good lessons that you shared, Gail. First, in asking, my gosh, I struggle struggled with that myself. And I feel like a lot of us as leaders were so, like you said, Gail, used to leading, being the head, ordering, organizing, doing all the things that if to me, as you mentioned, it's not a sign of weakness, but maybe at times subconsciously I felt it was weakness. So I didn't really ask. I just did it all myself. But there's so much power in asking, in knowing that you're human and you need help. You need support, especially in times where you're going through something as stressful as grief and that part of life. You need that support. So I love that one of the lessons that you shared about was the importance of asking as a leader, and then allowing. That was another key thing that you talked about, Gail, allowing the emotions to take place. If you're not able to get out of your bed that day, it's okay. That's the emotion you're experiencing at that moment. If you're not able to, do what you need to do, it's okay. To be able to just feel the feels and the emotions of that, and just connecting to a higher power, God, really having that relationship in order to lean on and depend on God during those seasons that's hard for us to go through is so important. So I love that you shared that. Thank you so much, Gail, for your section. Awesome. So let's move on to Noely Velez. And your title was If Not Today, When? If Not Today, When? And in your section, you share 4 important lessons to live an optimal life. And I'll just quickly go through those 4 lessons and then you can elaborate on them. So the first lesson you share is tomorrow is not promised. The second is honoring your life. The third is being healthy. And the fourth is a full life. So, why did you pick those particular important lessons as key lessons for people to learn and understand in order to live their optimal life?
Absolutely. So I'm your optimistic friend, right? The one that is always going to cheer you on and empower you, be your number one cheerleader. And so when this opportunity came up, I'm like, "Ah, that is so easy. I am definitely, have the tips to, be able to empower you and, let you know what I've done to live your optimal life." Unfortunately, during the writing process, it was the summer of last year, I had a huge loss in my life. My nephew, he was 5 years old and had a medical emergency, and he didn't survive it. And so that got me stuck. And I expressed that to Marianne and to Liz when I was writing. I'm like, I am totally stuck. I don't know how to move, and express how I'm feeling right now, because as Gail and Annette, talked about, the grieving of someone just doesn't let you move on. And so I had to like really try hard and pray. I mean, prayer has been, I'm a faithful woman, has been a thing in my life. And so through this whole process with my nephew and my family, prayer was, even more amped in my life because we needed to get through this situation. And so I was really stuck. The 2 sections of being healthy and honoring your life were 2 sections that were super easy for me, right? Because living an optimal life for me meant that you're honoring who you are as a person, as a woman, right? We have to figure things out. We have to um, balance so many different things. And my mom was, one of those women in my life that always empowered me and, always said, you're a leader. And like, since I was younger, I had that person in my life that would, push me through and say, you could do this. And so as an adult, I carry that with me. And I knew that, I had to, that's why I said I'm the optimistic friend that is always gonna, be there and make sure that you're okay, that you have the tools that you need to be able to do things, to tell you have a voice, speak up, when you feel some type of way. And with that, being healthy also comes into play because we struggle. We go through things in life that we feel that, we're not good enough. We're not skinny enough. We're not good looking enough, whatever those doubts in your mind are. But it's just taking that deeper look inside of you, and the work is what happens inside you then reflects on being healthy in the outer, right? Just kind of what Marianne spoke about. There's so many things that you struggle with in life and doesn't let you move on. And so as we get older, we realize that our body changes. We're not going to be the same as we were when we were 20 years old, right? Our metabolism change. And so it's just taking smaller steps to make those changes in your life. So, honoring your life and speaking of and being healthy, those are the things that I wrote about and those steps that you could take to be able to accomplish that. But then, bam, the big change in my life happened, right? And that stopped me in my tracks. And I said, what? That's why I titled, like, if not today, when? Because tomorrow is not promised. There's so many things that could happen in a blink of an eye that, as I've gone and continue to go through the grieving process, because grieving there's not an end date to that, right? There's not an expiration date. You start looking at, wow, now I'm experiencing life without this person. What could it have been? And you could definitely go deep into that and go into this spiral, but then you have to come up, right? You have to see the light. And for me, tomorrow is not promised, and making sure that you're honoring your life just kind of all came together. um and also living a full life. What is your passion? What are you loving about your life? We have all of us have dark moments in our lives, so can we then put those dark moments aside and think about the passions that we have for life? What makes us happy? What brings us joy? And writing stuff down. What are those goals? What do you want to accomplish? And to be able to then move forward doesn't mean that you're moving on and forgetting what happened to you, but move forward to be able to have the optimal life. And to me, that's what I go into my chapter, those tips on how to go about it. And one sentence that I wrote at the end, it says, take chances, let your light shine bright, live your life, and honor who you are. Others will adjust, right? Because when you're bringing those things into your life, not everybody's going to agree, because they're going to say, well, why is she always so happy? Why is she always this, right? Well, who cares? Others will adjust, right? And if they see you for your value and who you are, then you definitely are living your optimal life to your standards. And then others will see that they could adjust, whether it is to join you or to adjust to just accepting who you are as a person. So I go on about, those tips and how to move on, and really how to not take today for granted. Don't take anything for granted in your life. Really have a purpose in your life, and all of these different components, they will come together and make you a better you.
I love that, Noelle. So true. It's so important for us to be able to move forward and adjust, and for people to accept that adjustment or not if they don't, but being true to yourself in the whole process. So good that you shared about that in your section, which was If Not Today, When? So, Davia, not only are you the visionary and lead author in the book, but you did have a section. So, I briefly want to talk about your section. You kind of mentioned a little bit about it in the beginning, but the title of your section is Be the Eye of the Hurricane. And I love that you start off your section by telling people to close their eyes and imagine what it would look like to live their optimal life. And the reason why I pulled that part out of your section is visualization, right? I think visualization is key. Being able to visualize what would my optimal life look like, and it helps to just close your eyes and seek into that vision and allow that vision to come to you. So I love that you start off your section by offering up that visualization and the opportunity for individuals to really visualize that. And then you share that even though we may have many things going on for us, many times there are one or two things that we may be stuck on, which you talked about earlier. But you talk about falling into 6 different categories: relationship, which is romantic, relationship, family and friends, finances, your career, vocation, or your life's purpose, health and well being and wellness, and then 6 being spirituality. So, really paying attention to those areas of our life and figuring out, what's working well, which ones are we doing well in, which ones are we off, and then really working on staying in appreciation and gratitude for the ones that are working well, but then also thinking about how we can improve the areas that we're struggling in. So tell us a little bit about the title, because I love that part of your section where you said, Be the Eye of the Hurricane. So why did you title it Be the Eye of the Hurricane?
That's such a good question, Nadine. It brings to mind for those of you who like probably had to go to Sunday school and you had to memorize Bible verses and that sort of thing. You might remember a verse that says, "Be still and know." And there is really an opportunity, I feel, in this fast-paced world where we're pushing and we're pulling and we're stressing and we're straining. And Annette was talking earlier about just being that businesswoman who's doing all the things. How many of us can really relate to that? I've been there. I know what that looks like. And there was an absence in my life of being still. But there is there's a doctor, Dr. Deepak Chopra, and he has abandoned patient care completely. And he now is in, I think, Hawaii. And he's one of my mentors. And he talks about being the eye of the hurricane. He is suggesting that life doesn't have to look like the beautiful picture for you to be able to enjoy its benefits. You could have things going crazy around you, but you have to be able to maintain your inner peace. And that's really what my chapter was about.
I love that, Tavia. Maintain your inner peace. Be still and know that God is in control, no matter what the chaos is around you, no matter what the trauma is, the situation. You have the ability to be still and be at peace despite the chaos. So that's what being the eye of the storm is all about. So this has been an amazing conversation with you ladies, all about living your optimal life. I loved reading each and every one of your chapters and the messages that each one of your chapters brought. I don't think it's a coincidence that there was a theme about grief and loss. A lot of the ladies that showed up today on the panel talked about living through grief and loss, and how you might not necessarily feel like that's the optimal time of your life, but yet there's a way that you can look at the good times, the memories, and how you can move forward. So I don't think that was a coincidence, and I definitely appreciate each and every one of you for sharing your stories, and especially those who shared about their loss, because I know for sure that's going to help other people that are going through the same struggles with grief and loss of family members or even friends. So I definitely appreciate each and every one of you for sharing your stories. So, what is the best way for people to purchase the book? They've heard just a few because there are 18 co authors, I think you said, Dr. Devia, and we only highlighted four on the podcast. So, if anyone wants to read more of the stories of Live Your Optimal Life, what is the best way for them to purchase the book?
Well, here's the deal, Nadine. Anybody can go on to Amazon and look for Live Your Optimal Life, and it will pop up because it is a best-selling book. However, there are some bonuses and added value items that folks can get when they purchase the Live Your Optimal Life book through this link, growsmarter.com/ticket. When they go there, what they will get is they'll get the book, yes, but they'll also get workshops with every single one of the authors who are part of the process. Workshops really, really giving folks a chance not just to read a book and put it down on the shelf and never think of it again, but to actually implement all the takeaways from this book that are so many and actually start living your optimal life.
I love that. So good, so good. So definitely go to the growsmarter.com/ticket to get those bonuses. Yes, you can get it on Amazon, but why not get all those amazing bonuses and additional ways to integrate by going to that particular URL and purchasing it there. So I'm going to end on this note, just asking the co-authors and the best way for people to connect with you. So they've heard a little bit about your story. They've heard about the work that you do in the world. What would be the best way for them to connect with you? Mary Ann, what would be the best way for people to connect with you?
Let's see. My publishing website is envisiongreatness.com. And the other simple way is mariannepack.com.
Awesome. So connect with her on her publishing website and also her personal brand website. Gail, what is the best way for people to connect with you?
The best way probably is my website, which is, I always start with the www, but I understand you don't need to do that, gailpetrowsky.com. And that's also my email. So, and you can they can Google me, and they'll find my meditations that are streaming too. So either way, we'll have the best way.
Awesome. Her website and Google her. And Noely, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, the easiest way is through our website, our photography website, which is jcv-pics.com. And through there is our email. There is also a text messaging option for people to connect with us. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, Noely S. Velez, so people could connect with me directly there if they wish to.
Awesome. Thank you, Noely. And Annette, how can people get in touch with you?
Of course, you can always buy the book. A Design Discovery is my website, or Annette Stahl is what my tag is on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome. And last but not least, Dr. Devia, visionary author, lead for this book project. What is the best way for people to connect with you?
So I want to issue an invitation. If you are a woman in business and you believe, like we believe, that when we collaborate with each other, when we support each other, that it really makes a difference in the world, then the best way to connect with me is to come join our community. It's 100% free. And all these authors, plus 1,000 other women who believe this, are there having conversation every single day. Just go to growsmarternotharder.com/Facebook and you'll be hanging out with us and it'll be tons of fun. Can't wait to see you.
Awesome. Definitely great. Go to growsmarternotharder.com/Facebook. Join the community for all the amazing women that are part of this community. Thank you, ladies. This has been so much fun, so much joy, so much appreciation for each and every one of you for being a part of the Women, Faith Plus Business podcast. Thank you for listening to the Women, Faith Plus Business podcast. I hope this episode has been insightful and inspiring and has offered you an opportunity to take action to transform your life and your business. Wherever you are listening, be sure to rate and review the podcast and also subscribe to get the next episode right in your inbox by going to womenfaithandbusiness.com to join our email list.